She stood in the doorway of her corner office, manicured nails drumming against the mahogany frame, watching him through the glass walls. Marcus Chen, the maintenance supervisor with perpetually paint-stained hands and that infuriatingly cheerful smile, was late again. Third time this month. Victoria Ashford hadn't built a billion-dollar real estate empire by tolerating excuses. At 42, she'd clawed her way up from a cramped Brooklyn apartment to penthouse suites in 3 countries, and she'd done it by making the hard decisions that weaker people couldn't stomach. Firing someone was just another Tuesday. Mr. Chen, my office. Now. Her voice cut through the bustling headquarters like a blade through silk. Marcus looked up from where he'd been conferring with the janitorial staff, his weathered face creasing with concern. He was 36 but looked older, the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. Victoria had noticed these things about people, it helped her predict who would crack under pressure. As he walked toward her office, she saw him glance at his phone, his jaw tightening. "Close the door," she said, not looking up from the termination paperwork already prepared on her desk. Efficiency was everything. Marcus stood before her desk, his work boots leaving faint scuff marks on her pristine white carpet. Another irritation to add to the list. "Ms. Ashford, I can explain." "I'm sure you can." Victoria finally met his eyes, her gaze glacial. 3 tardies in 4 weeks. 2 early departures. Your performance reviews show you're distracted, Mr. Chen. This company demands excellence, and frankly, you're no longer meeting our standards. She slid the papers across the desk. "You're fired. Security will escort you out. You'll receive 2 weeks severance, which is more generous than policy requires." The color drained from Marcus's face. His hand trembled slightly as it hovered over the papers, but he didn't pick them up. Victoria had seen this reaction before: shock, anger, sometimes tears. She'd learned to wait it out with professional detachment. But Marcus didn't rage or plead. Instead, he took a deep breath and did something that caught her completely off guard. "Ms. Ashford, I understand your decision, and I respect it. But I have one request before I go." Victoria raised an eyebrow. In 15 years of firing people, no one had ever positioned it quite like this. "You have 30 seconds. Come with me. Just for 20 minutes. There's something I need you to see before I leave." His brown eyes held hers with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. There was no anger there, no desperation, just a quiet determination that felt oddly unsettling. "Mr. Chen, I don't have time for. Please." The word hung in the air between them. 20 minutes. Then I'll sign whatever you want. Leave quietly, no unemployment claim, no fuss. "But this matters more than you know." Victoria's assistant had warned her about being too isolated in her ivory tower. She'd ignored him, of course, but the comment had needled her more than she cared to admit. And there was something about Marcus's steady gaze that sparked her curiosity, a rare commodity in her carefully controlled world. "Fine. 20 minutes. But if this is some ploy." "It's not." Marcus was already heading for the door. She followed him through the building, her Louboutins clicking sharply against the tile as employees scattered like startled birds. They exited through a side door she'd never used, into a part of the city she typically only saw from her penthouse windows, gritty, real, uncomfortably human. 10 minutes later, they stood outside a small brick building with peeling paint and a hand-drawn sign that read, Sunshine Community Center. "This is what you wanted to show me. A daycare." Victoria checked her watch pointedly. "It's more than that." Marcus held the door open. "Please." Inside, the building was shabby but clean, filled with the chaos of children's laughter. Crayon drawings covered every available wall space. The furniture was mismatched, obviously donated, but everything had been carefully maintained, lovingly repaired. An elderly woman with silver hair looked up from where she was reading to a group of preschoolers. Her face lit up when she saw Marcus. "Marcus, we didn't expect you until later." She stopped, noticing Victoria. "Oh. Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine, Rosa. I just wanted Ms. Ashford to see what we do here." Over the next 15 minutes, Victoria learned that the Sunshine Community Center provided free after-school care and meals for 73 children from low-income families. That Marcus had been arriving late because he came here every morning at 5 a.m., To fix things, the heating system he'd kept running through winter with salvaged parts, the plumbing he'd repaired on weekends, the roof he was slowly patching section by section. We can't afford to pay him, Rosa explained, her voice thick with emotion. But without Marcus, we'd have been condemned months ago. These kids would have nowhere safe to go after school. Victoria felt something uncomfortable shifting in her chest. Why didn't you tell anyone at the company? We have charitable programs. I tried, Marcus said quietly. I submitted 3 grant applications to Ashford Enterprises Foundation. All denied. Doesn't align with company focus areas. He smiled sadly. I understand. You build luxury condos. We're not exactly on brand. A small girl, no more than 6, tugged on Marcus's sleeve. Mr. Marcus, did you bring my daddy's picture back? Marcus's expression crumbled. He knelt down, eye level with the child. Not yet, sweet pea. But soon, okay. After the girl skipped away, he turned to Victoria, and she saw something in his face that made her forget about quarterly earnings and board meetings and everything else that had consumed her life for so long. That's Emma, my daughter. His voice cracked slightly. Her mother passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. The medical bills took everything. I've been trying to make ends meet, but this job, your job, was supposed to be the stable income I needed. I've been late because Emma has nightmares and won't go to school some mornings. The early departures were for her counseling appointments. I never missed work, I made up every minute. But I understand if that's not enough. Victoria felt like she'd been punched. Mr. Chen, I didn't. You didn't know because I didn't tell you. That's on me. But I wanted you to see this place because these kids need it, and I'm asking, not for me, but for them, if there's any way Ashford Enterprises could help. Not as charity, but as an investment. These children are the future of this city. Give them a safe place now, and maybe they'll grow up to be people who build things instead of breaking them. He pulled out a worn folder from his jacket, handing it to her. Inside were detailed plans, architectural drawings, budget projections, partnership proposals with local schools. I've been working on this for 8 months. I know you're ruthless, Ms. Ashford. Everyone knows that. But I also know you were once a kid who needed a chance. I read about you, about the scholarship that changed your life. These kids deserve that same chance. Victoria stared at the proposal, her hands shaking slightly. When had she become the person who said no? When had efficiency and profit margins overshadowed everything else? She thought about her younger self, the girl who'd promised she'd never forget. Where she came from. You said one request, Victoria said finally, her voice softer than she'd ever heard it in a professional setting. But I'm going to give you 3 things instead. Marcus looked confused. First, you're not fired. You're promoted, head of our new community development division, 60% salary increase, flexible hours for your daughter. His eyes widened. Ms. Ashford. She held up a hand. Second, Ashford Enterprises will fully fund the renovation and expansion of this center. I'll make sure we have the best architects, contractors, and staff. And it will be free for any family that needs it. Rosa gasped. Several staff members who'd been pretending not to listen broke into tears. And third, Marcus asked, his own voice breaking. Victoria felt tears threatening for the first time in years. You're going to teach me how you see the world. Because somewhere along the way, I forgot that buildings are just structures. It's the people inside them that matter. 6 months later, Victoria stood in the grand reopening of the Sunshine Community Center, now 4 times its original size, gleaming and beautiful but still covered in children's artwork. Marcus stood beside her, Emma holding his hand, as they cut the ribbon together. The local news called it the Billionaire's redemption story. But Victoria knew better. It wasn't redemption, it was remembering. Remembering that success without humanity was just an expensive kind of emptiness. That sometimes the people you're about to throw away are actually holding the keys to who you're supposed to become. And as she watched Emma laugh and play with the other children in a space that was now safe and warm and full of possibility, Victoria understood that Marcus's request had given her something far more valuable than she'd ever given him, a way back to herself.